It's not even an attack. It's just he straight up burps in your face, and the halitosis is what gets you. Merry Christmas, or happy birthday, Jesus, as it were. By the time this goes live on YouTube, it will, in fact, Christmas is already done. Christmas is already done, so we're a little late. Belated holidays to everyone. Happy holidays to everybody out there. 'Tis the season of whatever you happen to be celebrating. So hope everybody has a restful, and speaking from experience, uneventful holiday. That can be maybe the most important part. Hope everybody out there had a good week. Had a good weekend, depending on whether you're watching this in the live stream. Of course, if you want to see this live, it'll be a link in the description, along with the Discord, all that fun stuff. We're going to be looking at some Phobies viewer games. Festive fear, a season of frightful fun, and we get Chonky showing up in the image this time. You're going to have to let me know in the comments. Well, now it's going to make a noise, but like, I was moving the mic because I was leaning forward and I didn't want to bump into it. You're going to have to let me know if it makes, because I've started to notice, like, as I'm listening back to some of the recordings, that moving the mic at all causes some noise, and I was hoping that just, like, sliding it, if it doesn't, grind over there where it actually has the connection to the desk, it wouldn't like shriek in people's ears. But anyway, all that out of the way. I have to let everybody know at the beginning, I am part of the content affiliate program. That means that the Phobies team does in fact give me coffee for producing Phobies content. In fact, at this point, as we're looking at the current map rotation, which will have changed by that point in time, 127,000 beans. One of these days, I'll spend them. New portraits up for grabs. Didn't get them. Womp womp. I think you have to get it out of the whatever jack. The diamond jack. Whatever. Anyway, we're going to be jumping in. We got a few viewer games tonight. Not a ton. But we were very short just a couple weeks ago. So we are moving up. I think a lot of the... Got to get signed into the appropriate account to get the right spreadsheet. We do have several... Oh, boy. Painful Fate jumping us up. We actually have a bunch of viewer games now, so maybe this will be the only thing I do on stream. It was originally short, and I was planning on doing some other stuff on stream, but we are not going to be able to do that. Let's get in there. Kurosame and Painful Fate dominating submissions primarily. We're going to take a peek, starting, though, with Knuckle-Rar, the artist formerly known as Nuclear Death. I believe it is this game. Jumping into our first game of the evening, Knuckle-Rar versus the bad guy. I've been doing some frenemies testing with Chonkies. This is one of the interesting games. We'll have to see about this one. So, once again, we have a monthly phobie. As pointed out, happened to probably will feature on the thumbnail. I'll probably use that art as the thumbnail. We'll see how this one plays out. I'm very curious. I have, up to this point, not seen any games with Chonky, so this will be a first impression. It was, we'll say, the talk of the town when it was first unveiled. And I'm not surprised. Like, the big debate was about the ability, of course. And there was a lot of consternation, a lot of frustration from a variety of different people once it was discovered exactly how it functioned. And part of me is surprised. Part of me is not surprised. Ooh, we got a little Lenny? A little Lenny showing? Oh, man. Lenny, that's gross. It's gross. I actually had some Taco Bell yesterday. I haven't had Taco Bell in forever. It's delicious. I don't know. Look, all right, I know we're getting off topic here, but of course we're going to be off topic. I don't know what is wrong with your constitution your intestinal fortitude, if you will, if you can't have Taco Bell and not shit your pants. Like, I have it and I'm perfectly fine. What is wrong with people that are eating Taco Bell and immediately getting diarrhea? Like, what is going on? What is wrong with the biome in your stomach that you are incapable of handling Taco Bell? It bothers me. It bothers me. If it's only a couple minutes into the stream, that's just the topic. Yeah, it's just, this is the standard. This is how we start. All right, so we got Chonky. I did not realize that he has... Why does this guy have chicken legs? What is going... All right, first of all, like the forearms, whatever. It's a unique take on Yetis. Why does he have chicken legs? You could argue that, like, he won't sweat, like, lose moisture in the dry, cold environment, but wouldn't it be better to just be completely covered and then not expel body heat? I don't know. Does that work? We need the biology. Like, are there any Arctic birds with exposed legs like that? I don't think so. Anyway, for anybody who's unaware, it's not even chunky. It's chunkies. Like chunkies? Like multiple keys? I don't... What is going on with this phobie? There's so many weird things about this phobie. Anyway, Blizzard obscures range. This is what we were starting to get to before I got sidetracked with Taco Bell. Look, I fully expected that he was going to function the way he functions. Everybody else was under the impression, no, it must be a bug, and then the devs confirmed that, yes, it works this way. I'm not saying that it's not powerful. However, I don't know that it's necessarily unhealthy. The goal was quite clearly... Also, what the fuck is Lenny doing? Like, look at my man. We're not touching that one. The goal was clearly intended to be like, make melee matter. Like, say, don't penalize melee phobies. And not go even beyond, don't penalize them. It goes into buff melee phobies so that they can actually, matter compared to what they normally do. We'll have to see how this bears out. So let's see what we got. There's a little burrito man. Little burrito zombie. I appreciate the different poses that Jonkies does with his forearms. Stretching out here. Alright, our Frozen Goro here. One thing I really don't like about Chonkies is I do not like the graphic. I understand it's kind of wispy because it's a blizzard and it's supposed to evoke snow and ice, but like, it's clearly visible, but it just doesn't feel like it's as visible as it should be. I'm not sure how to fix it, but I don't love it. Either way, we get Radiator as the backup. Panic point advantage for bad guy. High five is the counter. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure the ranged guys can shoot out of the blizzard without... Does it... Well... Obscures range. Maybe you can't. I don't know if you can shoot out of the blizzard. Wait, what? Interesting. That is very interesting. It does completely render this innocuous. maybe not completely, but mostly irrelevant. Mostly irrelevant. Just whoops the living shit out of Tickles there. Blizzard wore off. It bought a little bit of time to get set up, but this is a lot of pressure on the heart. Wait, what are we doing here? We're baiting high five in? That can't be correct. Can it? You would have lost the high five. But I don't know, man. That feels like a missed opportunity there. Given that Chonkies is still alive, I don't know that I'm very comfortable with... Like, why put more range guys on the board? Collector? I mean, if we're going to force melee... I love how he eats that random rat and then washes it down with random tax paperwork. Down goes Unicorn. But the opposing Unicorn... Like, not much has happened in this game. At least as far as fighting goes, I guess. So, the turn that the high five could have gone in, the Innocuous was so far back that it couldn't feasibly push up and mean anything because Chonkies was going to be back online in time. I mean, this is still an enormous amount of pressure. And I do wonder, we'd have to go back and look more closely, and we have too many games to do that tonight, but like, I wonder if it would have been better to simply off the, or not off, but push with the high five and try and go for it. How do you not lose here? Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, this is still kind of dicey. You'll be able to stabilize the panic points, I think. Would it not have been better to attack through the Chonkies with a bomb last turn? Guess maybe the panic points represented just a little bit more damage? Wow, look at that. 75 health. I wonder. A very close one. Some of the phobie choices on both sides were a little suspect. Like, I don't think the answer to Chonkies was spectacular. Not that the support for Chonkies was necessarily incredible either, but it is kind of interesting seeing that guy in play. I do, as I said, I like the idea, the concept, the goal, but I know a lot of people are upset with the implementation, so we'll have to see how this plays out. All right, we got a brick, if you will, of Kurosame games. Coming in with the first one, I'm a Ratty Lover. I'm assuming that's Radiator. My first thought was Fallout, which, I gotta be honest, I want to watch the show, because it looks interesting. And the game sounded interesting, but I tried, I think it was Fallout New Vegas. I did not get very far in before I got bored. I don't know, I've realized that I have to play games in the appropriate mood. It's very easy, like if I'm in a bad mood when I'm starting a game, even if I was excited about it, it's just going to fail. There are certain properties or games that it doesn't matter how bad it is, I will still enjoy it. Like any Mortal Kombat game, I'll enjoy it. Any Gears of War game, I'll enjoy it. Stuff like that. But if I try a new game, it's very, like, I have to play it in the right frame of mind. Like, I bought a game earlier today on Steam called Kingdoms of the Dump. It is an RPG where you're a literal trash can. And it's apparently made by 2 janitors. It's an indie RPG, like SNES style 16-bit kind of thing. And it's made by 2 janitors, and the hero of the story is a literal trash can. And you are questing in the lands of Phil. And yes, there's an enormous amount of puns, and it's hilarious. It's very funny to me. But if I'm trying to be cautious about it because I want to like actually play it through. I want to see what the story is, and I don't want to I want to give it a fair shake, is where I'm going with it. Like, I played it similarly at the same time I bought Berserk, which is a like Vampire Survivors like, and it crashed, and I was in a bad mood, and I'm like, you know what? I'm refunding it. I'm not even trying. Admittedly, like, I already knew what the genre was like, so I don't need an 18th game in that genre, but it did crash on me, and I was kind of annoyed, and I'm like, I'm not screwing around trying to troubleshoot this. I don't care. And anyway, we got an attractor coming down. It's been a while since we've seen an attractor, I think. Remember the early days when a tractor was like, the sky is falling? How naive we were. I think this is Panic Point Advantage Hero. Yep. God, I'm wiped out. I was doing good today, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, I got super tired. I did wrap all but one Christmas present, so that's exciting. I gotta do that later this week. Santa came by on the fire trucks. Down goes Snowball. No Christmas presents for you. Nothing in your stocking. There's a good question for you, Chad. What would be the ideal Christmas gifts for each phobie? Ooh, we gonna get a little double kill action here? Seems so. Pretty solid turn, if you ask me. Feel like the positioning on the jar could have been a little bit better. I do like that it frees up the Klepto, though. Maggie? So here's the thing, like, if you had... I mean, you can get to this panic point up here with Maggie anyway next turn, so I guess it doesn't matter, but, like... I feel like that jar could have been more aggressively positioned. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Losing the attractor isn't great, but you should be able to get an almost free kill on this Daisy. Maybe what we need instead of Chonkies in order to buff melee is we need more Radiators. Not necessarily with the same ability, but we need more melee phobies that effectively get a free attack. Like, they have a conditional free attack, if that makes sense. So Radiator is, it happens every few turns, and you got to be, you know, next to something so that way it goes off. Under certain conditions, you know, whatever those conditions happen to be, that would allow these new hypothetical phobies to get their free attack. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something like, oh, God. Like the jackalopes or the, I was trying to think of the name of the walruses. The, what the fuck is their group called? I don't remember what their grouping is called right now, but you get what I'm saying. Like them or the Speedolas or something. Where it's, oh, well, if I have 5 of these guys and they all get a free attack. No, we don't have to go that far. But, you know, just like certain game conditions that your opponent can then play around. Where, like, Radiator is, hey, every few turns, I'm going to go off. So it's like Werewolf. You have to be aware of your positioning so that you don't overextend and then allow your opponent to get that connection. So you need other things like that so that your opponent can interact with it. That inherently makes the phobie worse. So from a design perspective, it makes it a challenge because since it is worse, you are incentivized to push the phobie to arguably problematic levels so that it is good enough to actually compete. I don't think it's binary of it's broken or it's mid, but you do have to be careful about that. This Radiator did put in a lot of work, though. I will say that. Our hero kind of on the ropes here, though. Maybe not. Maybe not. Dude, how are you going to live through this if you... Oh, wow. That is a lot of panic points, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panic points? That's a lot of panic points. Oh, I got something in my eye. I mean, the Boo Fairy on the stim is super scary. But 7 panic points is also very scary. GG. Heads up play. I mean, honestly, it looked kind of dicey, but able to cling to victory. Refusing to end the game, however. There we go. GG. Got him. Got him! Alright, let's see what the next one from Kurosama is. A little bit longer here on Showdown. You should use Gravedigger. You can't tell me what to do. You're not my mom. Or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I agree on this map. You probably should use Gravedigger. Probably should. Quite possibly. We do not have currently standard temporary tiles, right? So we don't have like a floor that will disintegrate after so many turns or a hole that will automatically fill after so many turns or something like that. I think that is something that they should explore. It may not be technically feasible right now. Like the game may not be able to do that. It obviously can because we have the new phobia that can fill gaps. And we can clearly create and destroy obstacles. Because what I was thinking is, what if you had this map, but took all of the obstacles out and replaced them all with abyss tiles? But then that kind of locks that center one behind only flying phobies. But what if you had access to it every so many turns via land? I do feel like we need another way to also make burrowing more relevant, but burrowing wants you to have lots of obstacles, and we kind of have a bunch of maps like that. We talked about it the last viewer games, but for example, Phobopolis has a ton of obstacles, and I feel like your average player is going to say, yeah, Phobopolis kind of sucks. And even there, I don't think the burrowing helps that much. I still think there's so many unexplored things that we could do. Like, what if you had a new terraformer that exploded the obstacle? So it did, like, AoE damage to everything around it. When it maybe it's even a timed thing, so your opponent could walk away from it. But then you could do this combo of, like, maybe you have Gravedigger create an obstacle, and then you have this new phobie set to demo it, and then it pushes your opponent away from an area because they don't want to be around when it detonates or something like that. Like I said, there's got to be other ways to explore burrowing, to make burrowing more relevant. I think we need ways to, like... There's got to be more ways to improve melee and regular ranged over lobbers. Maybe there's a super tall obstacle that you can't lob over, but you can shoot through. I don't know if we necessarily want that, but... Boss, really. That is, in fact, a throwback at this stage. Speaking of boss, because he looks like a demon, I've been watching a bunch of Trench Crusade lore videos. Definitely not Christmas season themed. If you're not familiar with it, it's a miniatures game that I saw one of the comments say something like, what if the Knights Templar during the Crusades were actually doing all of the things that the French monarchy accused them of? What if they didn't accuse them of all those things just to get out of all the debt that they accrued and owed to the Knights Templar? And it was funny when wait, are you really just going to let this klepto, like, ruin you? Yeah, you don't have a wow. Yeah, you need Gravedigger on this map. Because imagine if there was a way to access this klepto. Imagine, instead of just, like, bomb, just clubbing. Like, even if you could mop up all the phobies, the other phobies, just getting in range of this klepto fast enough it's just not going to happen. I can appreciate the attempt with the blue. I can appreciate that. I think Bad Guy really needed to sell out for this. They also, like, why is their jar all the way up here instead of, like, where Boss is? So that they can at least poke at the klepto. I don't get it. I guess because, you know, Zappy and Thunder Rocks and stuff were there, but at the same time, I don't know. Decisions were made in this game, and they did not favor Bad Guy. I love Boss's attack animation. It looks sick. Blue! And as I said earlier, like, what is Bad Guy supposed to do? By the time they can actually get to the klepto, this game is over. Even with the power down. And that is all she wrote. Yeah, I mean, some of these maps are kind of solved in terms of you must do X. Now, that isn't to say that they aren't still potentially interesting. I don't know. I can't say like this specific one. But in my mind, something can be solved gameplay-wise. Like, yes, you must use Gravedigger on this map, or you must use X on this map. And I know Karst will disagree with this, because we've had this discussion before. But in my opinion, it is possible to have something that is solved like that. And, excuse me, still be fun because it's the execution. It's trying to actually do whatever the thing is. And doing it properly. It's like you can know what to do and still screw it up. I know, because I did it literally yesterday in a tournament on a couple different games, and I proceeded to lose. Point is that going through the motions is part of doing it. And there is a level, and I always say this, like, don't drag the game out. You know, it feels disrespectful to your opponent. Like, clearly you're going to win, and that's why a surrender mechanic should really be in place. Because it's a sign of respect to be like, no, I trust that you are a competent enough player. But if you're in a competitive setting where it's, no, you need to prove to me, like, I trust you, but you still need to prove it. It's fine there. And I think that for now on the ladder, we are at that stage where, okay, Gravedigger's required. Great. Show me that you understand how to manipulate Gravedigger and protect it and continue to use it. Or Gravedigger is the initial layer of the game. Then it moves to another layer of, okay, well, you need to do all this other stuff on top of maintaining your Gravedigger, or whatever it happens to be. Anyway, we're jumping in here. We got Kurosame, last one of their games, Attractor, Radiator, and Ash. Man, do I love movement. Did we load the same game twice? Hold on a second. Nope, it's just the same map. And did they open the same way? Because this was the game from earlier. I just got, like, weird deja vu. While this is loading, since we already watched this piece, I'm actually going to pull up my own stream and look at it to make sure that I'm not, like, imagining things. The early part of the game, we just gotta, like, wait for stuff anyway. This at least looks different. Okay, yeah, we did do the other one. It just, like, I had this weird, like, did we just do this? I feel like you didn't even need to attack the other phobies with Klepto, just focus on the heart. So that when the blue connected, I guess things were possibly in doubt, and I understand the initial swap to the other phobies, because it's like, if I hit the heart, it pops blue, I'm effectively doing no damage, and then it's possible the rest of my team gets overwhelmed. Whereas this kind of, like, locks... like, the only way you could lose, I think, from the position they were in was if the rest of your team gets killed too quickly. It's possible that they could have just burned down the heart anyway. But I can understand just, like, why take the chance, sort of thing. Oof. Ah, that sucks. So, for those of you out there, I'm trying to do multiple things at once. For those of you out there that are real-time strategy fans, you probably have heard of the catastrophe that was Stormgate. There were a lot of problems. I really liked Stormgate, Battle Aces. They both fell off for different reasons, variety of reasons. That's entire other documentaries could be made on those. But there were other RTSs that were looking promising, and one of them, Immortal Gates of Pyre, was one of the ones I was very excited about. And unfortunately, it looks like they, and this is like while I was streaming, put out a message saying they're not folding, but they're basically cooked. They have run out of money. They actually made a statement somewhere in here that like people were kicked out of housing because they were trying to desperately continue to push the game forward, but they weren't making money, so they weren't getting paychecks. This feels so much like the other game. It's weird. It sucks. And I think it's kind of on topic for Phobies, not because like they're dying or something, but it is the reality of indie games where, and in the modern environment especially, trying to produce something, a game that you love, that you know could be it. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't really matter how good your game is. Here's Ash. Like, Phobies, and this is why I was saying it kind of relates, again, not because, like, Phobies is going out of business or something, but Phobies is a spectacular game. It is by no means perfect. There are 100% problems with it. We talk all the time about balance, whether it's maps, it's Phobies, it's the ancillary economic systems, the entire underlying economic structure for Phobies, the free-to-play model, the ladder, the lack of additional features, the advertising, you know, pick a thing. There's problems. But Phobies is at its core a spectacular game. I think we all fell in love with it for a variety of reasons, but among them was the core gameplay loop. And while we could beat it to death about all the things I was talking about, I think at the end of the day, all of us who are here, or who have, if you're watching this and like you previously played Phobies, you fell off or you're coming back, you would say that Phobies is a good game. A great game even, or even beyond that. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, there are so many other factors, and it's difficult to accept when, even now, like, I'm by no means young anymore, and I haven't been in a long time. And it is tough for me to accept that it isn't simply make a better game and people will come. Most people have no idea that Phobies even exists. 90% of the time when people are like, oh, you stream? What other games do you stream? Because I'll be, you know, playing Star Wars and I'll say, oh, well, I usually stream other games, strategy games. They're like, oh, I love strategy. What kind of strategy games do you stream? Well, one of the main ones is basically chess with a resource system. And they get all excited. And they're like, what's the name? And I go, Phobies. And they're like, what? They don't even understand what the word means. I'm like, well, it's supposed to be like your pieces are, you know, the personification of certain fears and things like phobias and blah. And they're like, oh, okay. And like, yes, the theme kind of puts people off, but there are so many factors that go into making it a successful game. And to be honest, a lot of the time it probably is just simply luck. Of you hit things at the right time, in the right place, and then suddenly, bang, you explode. Like, would Vampire Survivors, as I was talking about that earlier, have exploded onto the scene and literally created a genre unto itself if it didn't hit when it did? Or that it didn't just become like this crazy phenomenon because of certain, you know, like it was on a bunch of streams and it was really easy to get in, like, combination of factors? Maybe, maybe not. And it's tough and it hurts when I watch, like I said, Immortal Gates of Pyre. I didn't play it a lot, but I played in one of the play tests and I really enjoyed it and I was really looking forward to it. But as they said in the post, they've been very quiet for a reason. Our hero looks like they're getting fucking bodied here. I know we got sidetracked, but like, what the shit? There were some cool displacement plays, but why do we have Boo Fairy right now? And are you not just going to get crunched by this plaid? Like, how do you not get clobbered by this plaid? I guess you're kind of far enough ahead in terms of the damage race that it might not matter. Because yeah, you can power this down. These two are out of position. Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess the boom can't really do anything other than reclaim panic points, but... Dude, Boo Fairy hits like a fucking truck. It's wild. The idea of having this spider just skitter around the map and claim all these panic points is really funny to me. It is very, very funny to me. Ball game. GG. So yeah, long story short on the other discussion is that it's very sad to see passion projects, especially ones that get far enough into... Like, if you produce a playable game state, even if it's buggy as fuck or, you know, it's feature lacking or whatever, a lot of effort goes into these things. And it's very difficult for me to look at something like that and go, yeah, you just never should have bothered. Which is kind of what it feels like when things such as we ran out of funding, because they, based on their statement, they're looking for, they're looking for funding. And they're trying to find a publisher, and I don't know. It is very difficult to... The modern landscape is just very difficult to navigate. You're not just competing against, oh, well, I'm a small indie studio, and I'm trying to, like... You see indie games succeed all the time, but that doesn't mean that that is the norm or that it is trivial. Is it possible? Yes. But it's possible maybe with a bunch of asterisks around what things can be. Put it that way. All right, we got a long one here. Noob Sim. Long time no see. I came back to Phobies this month to get back my skill, and I won't disappoint. Every decision, every placement is calculated. Kinda. All right, well, let's see what you got. Why this game was 33 turns, I guess we're gonna find out today. Oh boy, I don't know. It's been a weird Christmas season, chat. Even aside, like, the game that I was just talking about, like, one of my local gaming stores officially announced that they are selling to another store, so like another store is taking over, which is technically another one of my local stores. It's a little bit farther away, but it is sad that that's happening. It's a weird spot. It's a weird spot. 2025 was not a good year. We're not quite at the year recap. I guess we could do that next week, but like 2025 is not a great year. Why did you do that? Just so you could walk this guy up? Like, is that meaningful? I guess. Sure. Charon coming in, pooping everywhere. There's a lot of bubbles in the mud that Charon craps out. I didn't notice if there were bubbles in the mud that Honey Bear vomits out. And we got that extra key. What are we doing with it? I wonder if at any point in development Jammy Fish literally just conjured a key. Not pulled a key forward, but just straight up generated a key. Because that would be broken as shit. I'm sure at some point somebody brought the idea up and they're like, nah, can't happen. Can't have that happen. Imagine a phobie that stole keys from your opponent. You could probably, like, lock them out of the game that way. So Charon crapping on everything allows for this creep to sneak up, vomit, barf. You think it's just a burp? You think creep just straight up burps on you and it's just that toxic? That caustic? It's not even an attack. It's just he straight up burps in your face and the halitosis is what gets you. Having gone to many trading card game tournaments, halitosis is bad. It's bad. Brush your teeth, people. Brush your teeth. Use mouthwash. Maybe a mint or two. Take care of your choppers. Bad guy is just like hell-bent on not claiming their own panic points, and at this stage they kind of can't. They got bullied out. I can see why this game went on forever. Bad guy does have one extra key. They are at the point in time where they could hypothetically posture to do something. Our hero's still sitting on 9 keys. That's interesting. But bad guy finally takes control of their other pocket panic point. Onion Boy. We've seen this guy a lot over the last few weeks, and we've debated a lot. I'm not going to repeat all that now. You can go watch the other VODs. Talk about it a lot. Or you can hit up the Discord. Link for that in the description. Hey, hashtag humble plug. I don't know about Glob here. You know, of all the movies that they've remade, I'm kind of surprised they haven't redone the Blob. Travolta? That's very interesting. These are definitely choices. These are decisions that were made. Admittedly, if this glob can get connected with the ogre, it may kill it, because there isn't a ton of firepower on bad guy's side right now, outside of the ogre. Getting the pick on Jammy. Are we going to go for the honey bear? Alright, so Honey Bear, nom-nommed. We're only... That is such a weird attack animation. Oh, that actually gets the kill? Whoa. Alright, alright. And without the Honey Bear, the lava is real. Dude, Glob lived. Okay, Glob didn't live. Boom as the final phobie. Stabby does go down, though. Got a kill here. Got a kill there. We got a Trivolta power down. Kaboom! Panic point advantage reestablished, however, even if it is a slow... Well, it's a very slow bleed. Holy shit. Are you actually able to kill this ogre? I guess since they only have one action thanks to the Trivolta, the damage is, you know, halved, one might say. Actually running away, that's bold, because that means they're going to turn off the panic point, and it's going to be 3-1. Would it even be possible? Yeah, I guess they could have just killed the Benny. Our hero could have picked the Benny pretty trivially, I think. This one's checkmate. These are the scenarios where you need to be able to just lay down your king. We had the whole discussion earlier about, like, is it disrespectful to stay in the game and make them prove it? But there are certain situations where it's like, unless you disconnect from the internet, it's probably not possible for you to lose. I think this one's pretty close. GG. Got him. Well played. GG. Only one game from Noobsim. We're going to close out with some Painful Fate games. We got a bunch. 4 to be exact. All right, Painful Fate on Xylo. 1 of 4 games to close us out for this evening. Since the day I unlocked Akira, I didn't stop using him ever since. He is way too powerful. With a skull emoji. Well, we'll have to see if you lie in your next 3 games, Painful Fate. It's going to be funny if those 3 games do not have any Akira. Octonaughty. I've been paying a lot more attention to minis games in general lately, chat. To the point where I started designing one. I have the prototypes ready, but I just haven't had time to test it. Because, like, I want it to be simple. I don't want a Warhammer 40k where it's, like, books and books and books and books and so much effort to just get to the table and then, like, somebody tables you in the first turn or something. And also because there is the upcoming StarCraft miniatures game, which will be a much, or as far as I can tell, will be much more involved, much more 40k-like. But it's StarCraft, and I did get the Zeratul promo mini because it looks sweet. I'm debating whether to get somebody to paint it for me, because I painted other miniatures in the past, and it's fine. I do enjoy doing it, but this is like, I want this thing to look good, so I don't know. We'll see. Innocuous getting the pokes ready. Ash. Okay. I don't know that I love Ash on this map. I don't really love Ash in general, but on this map in particular, it's just so awkward to use Ash. It's just super awkward. That's the big issue. Like, if you want to use an offensive pull, it's way easier to try, and even though your opponent can impact that. But the way that Ash displaces your guys is just such a challenge. Poison Ivy is also kind of weird. So we could get like... Oh, actually, that's just a dead murder wing, isn't it? Because even if the Innocuous couldn't kill it, you can just, yeah, do this with bow and then yoink it back with the Ash. Does require the Poison Ivy to help. I mean, it's cute, but is that good enough? Crushmore, my usual go-to on this map. But alongside, there's just so many support phobies. We've seen this a lot where people get too support phobie happy, and then it causes problems. But we do get a Noxious hit here, which is going to connect with Ash. Of course, there is a healing spa, so who cares? Especially because the Ash was kind of dead weight right now anyway, thanks to the cooldown. I gotta remember to drink water while I'm streaming. $10 keys to 10 keys. Ooh, Repeller. I mean, I gotta be honest, I like bad guys' composition more. They are leaning kind of heavy on the support phobies because they do have 3 displacement tools, 2 pulls, and a push. But I'd rather have those than multiple terraformers on this map. Like, at most, you probably need to terraform twice, and you've terraformed more than that for not a lot of value. Like, breaking the ones up by the vault doesn't really do anything. This one could matter. I don't think this kills the bow. It does, okay. I think if you hit the heart, it would not kill the bow. It would push the bow up onto the lava. You know, Crushmore needs to get into the gym and hit leg day. A man's doing back and shoulders. Probably chest, too. 8 days a week. But leg day? Never heard of her. Here comes Akira. So the Repeller is in position to shell the heart. At least for the foreseeable future, because of the longer cooldown on Akira now. I guess that's a question for Painful Fate. When did you unlock Akira, pre or post nerf? Almost a free kill on Crushmore. guess you're getting a lot of uses out of Ash. I just don't know if it's worth it. All right, Boomer to set up the assist. Because here we go. Your last chance, bad guy. Try and stop the Akira, because you're obviously not winning in time. This is always when Akira feels the most dangerous. It's like, all right, I'm all the way off in the corner. You can't do anything about me. And if you try and interact with the board in any meaningful capacity, you're going to get blown out. I don't love that. That's 2 kills from this repeller. Basically for free. That being said, that spider's dead, that repeller's dead, the Stairmaster's probably dead. Maybe not probably, but it could be dead. Okay, never mind, it is dead. Wait, the Stairmaster didn't die? I feel like they could have killed the, whatever was here without having to expend too much effort, and then you could have put more effort into killing the Stairmaster. Like, the Gravedigger could have chopped it. That being said, you do have Unbearable in a position that's going to be very difficult to well, is it difficult to dislodge? Yeah, kind of is. Because no terraformers on bad guy's side, so you can't get the easy pull to pull it into the pit or away or into range or whatever. And now it's a race. A race that I do not believe bad guy has anything resembling a chance in. Well played. Well played. Like I said, I think there's still a combination of things, like, I don't love a bunch of phobie choices, and even beyond the phobie choices, there were 2 phobies that were kind of just given up for free. The Poison Ivy, maybe not, just because, like, it does tempt bad guy into a certain position, and then that allows you to do Akira and blah blah blah, so you could argue it's bait, but GG. Got him. Well played. All right, game number 2 from Painful Fate on Phobopolis. Using Unbearable as always. I just love his design and stats too much. I don't love the stats. I do love the design. Also, there's a hamburger bear emoji. I don't understand. What is this emoji? I can't actually tell. One of them is definitely a bear. The other one looks like a hamburger. But I can't quite tell what the emoji is. I do love Unbearable. It was one of my first favorite phobies. I think Unbearable could stand for a buff. We've spent a lot of oxygen discussing the idea of buffing the starter Phobies. I think Unbearable's one of the ones that probably could utilize a buff. It's a one-mover. That's the bottom line. You do have to be cautious because it is undead, so if you give it, like, 450 attack, that motherfucker will never die. Or will die and require so much effort that people will be actively upset about it. And with good reason. But yeah, I don't think that Unbearable is in a particularly great position. You gotta forgive me, I'm tired, so I'm starting to slur my words. 'Cause I'm sleepy. I felt like I got a pretty good night's sleep. I actually woke up and felt okay. Part of it was because my tournament season is pretty much over. There's a chance that I go to some tournaments in the new year, in January, but it's unlikely, and I don't know... I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how things turn out. I hope like that Klepto can stay. Man, Painful Fate, what are you doing with all these terraformers? That's double terraformer twice. This map, it makes a little bit more sense, as we were talking about. But as we were also talking about earlier, this is a map that feels as though you are supposed to be using burrowers. But I don't think it actually is a good burrowing map. And burrowers, just in general, are awkward. Because they self-isolate. So imagine you had a map where there were a lot of lines of obstacles, either diagonally, orthogonally, whatever. But it's a single row, as opposed to like being doubled up like these. Instead of being doubled up like that, just imagine that you had a line like this, or a line like this, or even a diagonal line, right? Speaking of burrowers, we got Tiny Tim. The burrower will then go under, end up in the middle of your opponent's team, and probably trade, because they're just going to focus it down and kill it. If you're able to burrow through and push behind it, maybe you had to have the burrower, but I feel like you probably had such an overwhelming force that it doesn't matter anyway. So the risk-reward on burrowing forward is not great. Even flyers are a little bit better off because it's more likely that if you sit on the obstacle, your opponent has to come to you. And therefore, they're exposing themselves more, whereas the burrower inherently has to get closer. Maybe we need more burrow ranged guys. Maybe we need guys that when they burrow and come out of the ground, they're invulnerable or have a damage reduction. Like immediately following a burrow action that goes under an obstacle. I don't know how they would track that. It would also be kind of confusing to communicate, but now that Chonkies exists and so many people misunderstood the ability at first read, because admittedly it doesn't necessarily clarify everything at first glance, maybe that isn't so much of an issue, and you take the Hearthstone approach of, well, the players will figure it out, which I always hate. But it definitely feels as though Burrow is almost a checklist ability. Like, well, we have obstacles. What if we had a guy go over it? Okay, well, what if we had a guy go under it? Fantastic. But it doesn't seem to be good enough. Ever. I don't think they're... The only burrower that really wins games is Klopster. And that is probably less about the burrowing and more about the fact that it just has a 4-range movement, so it can fly across the map either to snipe a phobie, to claim a panic point, to pressure the heart, just be in almost multiple places at once. Interesting. Bad guy's getting their ass beat here. Our hero still has 12 keys. Bad guy has 6. They're already down a pretty significant amount on the board already. I don't think Cerberus is pulling you back into this game. They're trying to make a comeback here, but that's a lot of keys that can backfill. Yeah, you got some picks, but now you're in range of multiple phobies. You're probably going to lose your erratic, and our hero can reinforce with, well, keeping the Akira streak alive. I don't know about putting it right there, but sure. The irony is, like, I kind of get Painful Fate's plan with double Terraformer into Akira. You break a bunch of the obstacles on the map that allows for Akira to be more effective because you don't have things getting caught on terrain or whatever. There are edge cases where that's better, but you get the idea. The issue is you're breaking all the obstacles on your side of the map, so your guys will free flow, but theirs won't. So you can't... You're not necessarily making it easier to pull their stuff out of position. But at this stage, it kind of doesn't matter. It's like infinite phobies to 3. It's about to be infinite phobies to 2. Down he goes. And it's just a matter of time. There's really nothing bad guy can do. It almost feels like the poll is just so you can do it. It was good, but it's like your opponent has 2 phobies. They just can't interact with you in any meaningful way. You almost didn't have to do the poll. It's kind of crazy that you had to sink that much effort into that damn Cerberus, though. Fair enough. No, bad guy. Why? You can't win! Oh, this is so exhausting. You dragged this out for an extra 3 turns for no reason. It didn't have to be this way, bad guy. It didn't have to be this way. Now you're gonna go in? Come on, buddy. What are we doing? GG. Why do people do that? Why run away when you have one phobie? They have like 1,000. You're down all the panic points just about. You're down on hard health. There are no advantages. Why are you doing this? All right, yet an even shorter game on Chapeltown. Painful Fate once again. No fair. As in F-A-R-E. Like you pay the fare. I have to assume this is a Charon game. That's the name of his ability, right? Chad, I bought into another card game. God help me. Yep, there's a Charon. I started looking at Flesh and Blood. Because it is like the card gamer's card game kind of thing. It is extremely deterministic as I understand it. And interestingly enough, they are kind of the exception that proves the rule. It's my opinion that in order to be a successful card game in the modern landscape, and success is nebulous. You could define it with a lot of different criteria. But for me, to be like a commercial and competitive success, you kind of have to be a property-based game. You know, like Star Wars Unlimited, Lorcana's based on Disney, or Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic predates this, so it's kind of like grandfathered in. But most other games do not have that sort of property attached, and therefore they can't really compete in the way that they need. Flesh and Blood is unique because it's a original property. It's owned by an indie company and therefore can do things that people can't. People being other companies. But interestingly enough, they are going to have a pauper format that is going to be their primary competitive format going forward next year, where it's essentially commons and uncommons. They don't have an uncommon rarity, so it's commons and rares, but it's essentially commons and uncommons. So I'm very curious about trying this game out. I still have to learn how to play it, though. Allegedly, some of my locals are like top-level Worlds competitors, so I'm very curious about that. Like, I'd love to go to locals, and there's high-level competitors there. And from what I understand, it's similar to chess, or Phobies, in that the better player pretty much always wins. As compared to a lot of games where there's variance that really lets people back in the game, it rubber bands them. Bad guy jumping out to an early panic point event. Oh my god. Beating the living shit out of Charon. However, hanging on by a thread. 24 health by the skin of his teeth. Probably going to move back into a... I guess you can reach it with a muffin anyway. Or a Clinico for that matter. I gotta say, Painful Fate's Phobies choices are very unique. Like, we have triple turret here with Charon. Obviously, they were forced into the Clinico, but still. Ooh, I forget the name of this Phobie. The Sabian recolor. Pearl. I feel like I've memorized a lot of the names of the Phobies very quickly, and then some of the newer ones have somewhat mystified me. Ooh, turning off the panic points. A lot of aggression from bad guy in a number of Painful Fates games. That's a lot of heart damage. That's a lot. For this early in the game, especially. But our hero remains unfazed. Maggie threatening the heart, not a problem. You will have to put in some effort to reclaim these panic points. It's nice and all to turn it off with Charon, but it will reactivate as a orange panic point, so got to be careful about that. Got to be a little cautious. See, like, this is one where I think it's a little concerning. You didn't have to overwrite that panic point, and flipping it to blue earlier, I think, would have been better. So, like, the Clinico could have taken it. And that means that you don't have to worry about holding something back. Since you have the Clinico, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But it would be nice to not have to babysit it, so that when the mud wears off, you can make sure that you have it. Boom. Nice big boop. Ooh, we get another new phobie. Well, new-ish. We got Mozzie. Have we seen Mozzie in a game? I don't think so. Skeeter Leech. So, a cheaper Alistor, except it's melee, so way worse. Unless you add Chonkies to the team, I guess. So is Painful Fate going to keep the Akira streak alive, is the question. Womp wah. Mozzie does nothing. Hilariously, claiming all the bad guys' phobia or panic points. 7 keys remaining to 19. I feel like we're watching an Alien Engineer game circa 2 years ago. Rambolina. Yep, and our hero's in complete control. And there's the Akira. Probably win more at this stage. Like, I don't... Bad guys strewn about the map, and they can't do anything meaningful. Sure. Boop. Boop. Doesn't even kill the Lenny. Yes, Charon's done their job at this stage. You're not worried about holding on to it. It's just kind of a systemic dismantling of bad guy. In all these games, bad guy is just overextended too much. A little too aggressive. I can understand the excitement of, man, I got him on the ropes. We're doing so much heart damage. We can push. I mean, look at this. Stabilized 63 health. But that switch flips pretty hard. You don't even need the Akira pull. You do need this, though. This is a good heads-up play by our hero, because otherwise, this Hevo could sneak across the top and maybe threaten something. Hey, we get a counter Mozzie. And now everything gets just a little bit easier. I think our friend here, Mr. Tramples, is another example of, like, the radiator effect, where you kind of get 3 actions due to Bull Rush, because you get, like, 2 moves because of the where you end up. But it's obviously conditional. So that means that you can make these melee phobies still relevant when they otherwise might not be, just because they are plain melee. But GG. GG. All right, our final game of the evening. Painful Fate. Bringing us home. Arachnophobia taking its toll with, that looks like a couple of spider emojis, I guess. Bring it back to where we started on ye old office maps. Phobies 1.0. I have to imagine this is another Ash game, right? I do kind of appreciate... I remember there used to be a lot of debates in the community of what phobia is, you know, insert new phobia supposed to represent. And, like, I get it. It's named Phobies. There are some very obvious phobias, like coulrophobia, clowns, arachnophobia, spiders, etc. We don't really have a you know what we need? We need like a one-mover building phobia that just picks up, for its attack animation, just picks you up and drops you to be like a fear of heights. Like maybe a crane phobia or something. But anyway, it was funny that for a while we did, and every once in a while it pops up, like, oh, what's this phobia supposed to be the fear of? And there's fears of everything. And nothing. But I do like that phobies kind of just moved into, hey, we're just making cool monsters. Although I think they need to... I can't ever say things that are bad about the Phobies art team, because they do a great job. But the dude who created the monsters in Look Outside, very creative. That is, I think, my game of the year. I had so much fun playing that game and still exploring it. Like, I'm doing another playthrough offline. Alright, bad guys set up with the panic point advantage, but our hero does have displacement. They have terraforming. They have a kill on this Jin Sting? Probably not, right? Is this enough? Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think that was gonna be enough. A bad guy could get a retaliatory kill on possibly the Gravedigger, but then they're gonna hemorrhage even more stuff because the Bowmangles is in position. Yeah, they're probably just gonna have to take this sort of thing and hope that it's enough. Yeah, I'll trade a Contortio for a Jin Sting. Seems pretty good. I mean, bad guy's just kind of getting smoked here. That was a good positional flip. We've seen a lot of positions throughout, like just watching Phobies games, where Some of them will seem insurmountable and they turn out to not be. Some will seem porous and then they turn out to be rather strong. But despite Bad Guy having an advantage there, it did definitely... Like, the Moffat is just such a massive game flipper. Alright, we're going to go for the Murder Wing. Ooh, we got the block break. What are we doing? Little microscopic. I have to imagine a jar is going to follow this up. Ooh, flail. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. This is just a good old-fashioned beatdown. I don't think Erratic's getting you out of this. Then again, you do have a panic point advantage, so our hero does have to do something, but they have a displacement tool. They have a lot of damage. As compared to at least a couple of games earlier tonight, there aren't a ton of support phobies on the board. It's not like 3 of 5 of the phobies for our hero are support phobies, and therefore they can't necessarily represent a ton of damage. But even in those scenarios, on a small map like this, oh, baby. Forget the arachnophobia. The spider is just doing a huge amount of work here. Or the gravedigger, rather. Forget the arachnophobia. The spider is what's important. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. The gravedigger put in a lot of work. This was a map where the block breaks were way more relevant. But Painful Fate did break their streak. No Akira this game. No Akira. Spiders closing it out. GG. GG. And those are all the games for this evening, chat. Those are, in fact, all of the games. We're going to call it an evening. As I started out with, happy holidays to everyone. Happy birthday, Jesus. Merry Christmas. All that fun stuff. Hope everybody has a restful, safe, and uneventful holiday. We'll be back next week. We'll see what we're doing. We'll see what we got. There are some, there's some things that cooking. I can't really talk about them yet. There's some things that cooking. But that's going to do it for tonight. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And tune in next time for more Random Thoughts.